wanted to talk a little bit about the software, the hardware, the offices, the things we used back then. Like I say, I come in the time of about '92, where CAD was being used. It wasn't on the drafting table anymore, pens and pencil. Although we did have an older guy there that did come from that world, and he was a whiz. Older guy, he was just about ready for retirement, and I worked with him a lot, helping him with the CAD because he was from the pen and paper days, and it was amazing. It was fun working with him. It was to see how it was done before I got into it. But I want to talk a little bit about the equipment because it's a lot different than it was today. So we had AutoCAD when I started with what they called Release 12, and it was based in DOS. I think maybe, yeah, Windows was probably out at that time, but very few programs used it. It was real new, and AutoCAD definitely didn't use it. It was based in DOS. There was no Windows. So the first time I opened it, when I was trying to work with it, you get the black screen. Um, it's basically, there's a little bit maybe at the top, maybe a little border around it, but it was a black screen, and I couldn't get past that black screen. I didn't know. I couldn't open the program basically because that's all it was. There was no, icons and things telling you what to do and little tool tips, and you got to figure it out. So that's the way that was, and with AutoCAD, it was very powerful software. I mean, it always has been. I still say it's the best 2D auto program ever designed, and probably always will be the best ever. I don't see anything being any better than it. But I got into it, and there's a ton to it. So I worked through that. But one of the things I remember a lot was how we did our printing. Today you have these laser jet printers and things like that that shoot drawings out like a mile a minute. Not in those days. We had a pen plotter. Yeah, it had pens in it. It actually had a carousel in it. I think it had eight pens. They were little pen cartridges, specially made for it, that you would put into little slots of the carousel, and that's how it would print. If you told it to print in green, it would go find a green pen and print lines. It'd draw them basically like you draw them with a pencil, except really accurate. Um, and then most everything we did was in black. We didn't use colors except for special projects. But when you went to print something, that was like a major issue. Because for most parts in that, it took a little while. But if you did a layout where there was a massive layout or something, it might be the next day when it was done printing. And you had to make sure that all your files were saved and everything was set up. And when you hit that print button, it was like almost scary. Like, is this gonna work? I mean, that thing might print for 4 or 5 hours, and then all of a sudden crash. And you get a drawing that's maybe a quarter done. That just becomes scrap paper that you could take home and let your kids draw on and mark up with crayons because you started over. And I mean, it was nerve wracking and all that, but it was the way it was, and everybody, it wasn't like, oh man, this guy don't, this guy takes forever to print his drawing. Everybody was like that, but that's how we did it. And what we did at that plant was we would print out the drawing on white, drafting paper, and then what we would do is blueprint it. And if every if anybody has ever done any blueprinting before, taking a drawing and blueprinted it, they exactly know what ammonia smells like because that's what it used to do it. And when you ran the blueprinting machine, you smelled ammonia. It was like the cleaning, the place where they store cleaning chemicals. It was ammonia. But what that would do was, uh, I don't fully remember the process, but somehow you put that main drawing, that pen drawing, into the blueprint machine. I don't remember if you had to put a special paper on top of it or in another slot or whatever. But it would go through and take that drawing and turn it into what a lot of people know as a blueprint. It had that kind of light bluish background and let's see, white lines on it and lines on it and things like that. So what that was for, that was how we copied drawings. Is so what we would do then is that main drawing that we printed out, it would go into the drawing storage, which was a cool thing we had. Um, but it would go into the drawing storage, and that blueprint, the copy of it, would go out to wherever it needed to go, to a machine shop, to a department, to contractors. It went wherever it went. But yeah, printing was always a kind of a good time for a break kind of thing. But even beyond that is when AutoCAD does its work and other software do their work, is you do things in it and it kind of holds off finishing it off, I guess you could say. Well, then what you have to do is regenerate the drawing to get all these different changes and smooth outlines and things like that. And then when you hit regenerate, the computer does whatever computers do, and it updates everything within the drawing. Well, nowadays is if I hit RE for regenerate, it's maybe probably less than a second. It's done. Well, back when I started, it's when you had a big layout that had a lot of entities, what they called them at the time, all the lines, circles, arcs, and all that in it, is when you hit regenerate, you might as well go to lunch and take a long lunch because it would go through all its calculations and all that. And oh man, it was it was like very very time consuming on a big layout. And like I say, it was not something that's specific to any person or piece of equipment. It was just the way it was. So you kind of planned when you hit regenerate because like say maybe you did it just before lunch or you did it just before you went home so that you could do its thing while you weren't tied up sitting there watching it. Um, so we did that. We had what else do we have? Oh, one of the things we had, I guess we haven't really talked about the confidentiality thing yet of those type of programs, but we had 3M screen filters that fit over the monitor. We had 21-inch monitors, and this filter, basically piece of glass with a frame around it, would fit over the screen. And what that would do was, unless you were sitting directly in front of that monitor, you couldn't see what was on the screen. So if you came up from the side or whatever, you couldn't see what was on the screen. And that was for various reasons of confidentiality. If somebody walked into your, they had cubicles at that time, um, walked into your cubicle and looked over, they couldn't see what you were doing on the thing. And there were some projects that we worked on that we'll talk about in another video that were that critically confidential that nobody could see them except who was working on them. So that was some of the things we did. Um, oh, the one thing I remember is when I think it was when email came out or some type of messaging thing. It first came out. I think it was, or maybe it didn't first come out, but it was the first time we started kind of using it. It was funny. It's somebody be basically right next to you on the other side of a cubicle wall, and you were emailing them or sending them messages or however that all worked. And it was just because it was a new toy, it was like, oh, look at this, I don't have to yell over the cubicle or walk over to her and say anything. And I remember how that started. It was kind of funny, but now it ain't so funny anymore because I think people use that too much. I mean, I still see it where people are sitting almost at the same desk and they're emailing each other. And for some reason, for sometimes that's, so transferred files in. But I've seen people send each other messages that, they're within an arm's reach of each other. So kind of take the personal thing out of it. That ain't really a good thing. I'll probably talk about that in one of these videos about how, the engineering department has a lot of different personalities. And, you know, some I think are good and some I think ain't so good. But yeah, maybe we'll talk about that sometime when I give it some thought. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this and maybe learn something about how actually got it pretty good these days with equipment. It's come a long way, technology's come a long way, and all that. So um, back in the day, we didn't have it so good, but we thought we did. I mean, we had a lot better than that fella having a standard and at a drafting table and draw with a pencil. So it's all technological advancement. And so here we are, 2025. What's going to happen in 2030, 2040? Hopefully I'll be around to see it. Kind of doubt it, but maybe it will be. Who knows? Technology, they come up with a lot of technology. Maybe I'll be around here in 2050. Who knows? But yeah, so that's our video for today. Like I say, glad to see y'all here. Kind of fun doing this, and hope it's fun for you. And I'll come up with some more if you want to watch them. They'll be there on my channel, and I guess if you subscribe, they'll be able, you'll be able to see them in that thing when you hit subscriptions on your YouTube thing. So maybe I'll pop up there and you see something that might be interesting. You watch it. So it's kind of fun. Glad I got this to do, and hopefully I got some people watching it and getting something out of it. So till the next one, hey, keep it going. That's it. Keep it rolling.